Hi, my name is Miss Helene, and I just wanted to welcome the moms and dads and the students back to Faith Formation for this year. And I really just wanted to spend some time with you and share with you memories I have of being in Faith Formation with your children, and also my memories from my children. And one of the things, once I was asked to do this, is I tried to imagine, because you're not here, and I remembered how much I loved just being early at Faith Formation to teach, and I liked watching the students come in and just being able to say hello to them. And I would see your faces, especially at the beginning of the year, and some of you were so excited to be back, and some students were new and they were really nervous. So I also want to stop for a second and remember that I'm actually taught at St. Mary's, but I never had the chance to teach at St. Joseph's. And now that we're two parishes or one family, I had been looking forward to actually doing more things over at St. Joseph's this year. And I'm sorry that I won't be able to, but I want to make sure I say hello to you and that you know who I am and what I'm talking about. So I wish you could ask me questions if something I say doesn't make any sense, and I'm sorry that you can't, but please know that if you ever see any of us and you do have questions, we're happy to answer them for you. So, I am a little bit nervous, and I've never done anything like this before, so I'm going to do something today which is really just what I did with the kids in Faith Formation and my children at home. And I want you to know, parents who I understand who might be watching this first, and then with your children, that when I was a young mom, I really had no clue. I thought all my life I just wanted to be a mother and I wanted to be perfect. My son was probably 2 weeks old when I realized I had no idea what I was doing, and I was really scared. But in church, because we do so many things with our bodies to pray and worship God, I remembered getting down on my knees. And I really did, when my son was born, get down on my knees and ask Jesus to help me to be a mom to my baby that he had given me. And Jesus answered me by sending me a really kind woman who was a nurse, worked with families, and she taught me how to be a good mom. And she also shared her faith with me and how I could share my faith with my children. And she told me that I could teach them Bible stories and read to them. I didn't know anything about the Bible. And this is what a Bible looked like to me. There are no pictures, and there's lots of words in here, like lots of words in here. And it was very overwhelming. So I used to go to the Catholic bookstore and I would buy these little stories and I would read them to my children. This is one that my sons love and I still have for some reason, I don't know. And they wanted me to read it over and over and over again. But through those children's stories is how I actually came to know what I want to talk to you and I love talking about the most is I got to know who Jesus was and what he was like. And I learned lots and lots of stories about Jesus. So much so that I can remember them without even having to think about them. So I want you to know what Faith Formation is going to look like for you this year. So I'm going to stop for a minute and I'm going to show you. So each family is going to get a newsletter every week, and every week there's going to be a gospel story in it. And then there's going to be lots of different things that you can do to learn more about the Bible, the gospel story that week. And gospel stories are all about Jesus. So we kept it very simple. And let me think for a second. So you'll see there's all different things that we can do in this nice newsletter. And I used to love it when I taught Faith Formation because Mrs. Malone would always have so many things for us to do with the children. And it was nice because it was always much more than we could possibly get to. And the kids and I would actually kind of look at what we had, and we actually would decide together what we were going to do and what was most important to them. And all of the gospel stories at St. Mary's, we used to do things where we always read the story. We saw a video that showed us what the story might look like. And then we would actually, what my students loved the best was that we would make it was made into a skit with each person's part, and they loved going around the table and reading all the different parts and being the different people in the Bible. And then there was also a story that would be a story about children and real life stories, and that would help them to understand how much Jesus wants to be with them every day. As a lot of them took place at school because that's where a lot of things happen. Sometimes things are hard and sometimes things are fun and easy, but all those things are important to God. We can thank Him for the good things, and then when things are hard, we can ask Him to help us. So that's who Jesus is. And sometimes, I'm going to think for a second and take a deep breath. I'm talking a lot and I'm saying a lot, and it's important sometimes just to stop for a minute and ask Jesus to help me. So this is what you're going to get, and it's going to tell you, there's a little part here that says, and this is a big word, Family Lectio Divina, and that's a Latin word that actually means divine reading. Well, I know what reading is, but I didn't know what any of those other words meant or what that meant. And some friends, just like the woman who helped me to be a good mom, they would tell me what it meant in ways that I could actually do it, and I learned to love it. So every week there'll be that little section, and it will give you the gospel story about Jesus that you're going to read just for that week, just one story. And then throughout the week, you can try different things that help you to understand what that story means and how you can live your faith. And then each family, I love this one, is going to get a Bible that looks like this. And it does have pictures, and it has lots of things to help you understand what all the stories are. I looked it up on Google, and it said that there's estimated between 600 and 800 stories in this Bible. And I thought, that's a lot of stories. And really the word Bible means books. There's actually, I don't remember, I'm sorry, I have to look it up again, how many books there are in the Bible that are just put together into one book so they're easy to find for us. The good news is that the gospel stories about Jesus, there's only 4 of them. And those 4 are called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And you know what makes it really easy to know what those stories are that are in those 4 gospels? When we go to church, and when I was a little girl, the priest stands up to, the priest is the one who always reads the gospel to us, and the people stand up. And I remembered listening to those stories, and I was thinking about it, and I think it's because I had to stand up that I paid attention, and I noticed that those stories were always about Jesus. The other readings were about a lot of different things, but the gospel stories were about Jesus. And he sounded interesting to me, and I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to know more because I wasn't really sure that God loved me sometimes. But then other times I really did know that he loved me, and I just wanted everyone to know that Jesus loved them too. And so I had to find pictures sometimes to help me to use my imagination to think about what Jesus was like. And this is one of my favorites because it makes me realize that God is kind and gentle. And then this year, we're in a year that we call the Cycle A, and we read stories from the Gospel of Matthew throughout the year on Sunday. And one of those stories is that Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are tired, and I will give you rest, for I am gentle and humble of heart." And that was the first verse I ever remember. Just the first time I read it or heard it, it just stayed with me forever, and I didn't even know how. I didn't even have to practice it or anything like a speech at school. So this picture reminds me that Jesus is gentle and kind, and that I can come to him with whatever's going on. And so just like at church and at Sunday school at St. Mary's, when we would do the Gospel Weeklies, there would be a story that kind of illustrates what Jesus is like. I chose one of my favorite stories. This story is written by a pastor for the children of his church. And this man, Max Lucado, he actually writes lots of books for adults, helping them understand what God is like and what Jesus is like. But he wanted to write a book for his children of his church. So I brought it with me, and I just want to read it to you today, and then we'll say a short prayer, and then we'll all be done. And I'm so glad that I got to spend this time with you doing one of my most favorite things. So thank you for being here and listening. This story is called You Are Special. Now, some of my students at St. Mary's know that I have two hands, but one of my hands doesn't work, and one does. So I have this nifty little stand that helps me to hold the book and read it so that you can see it while I'm reading. So it might take me a little while sometimes to turn the pages, but that will help me actually slow down. So this is called You Are Special. And there's the dedication page where the author tells who the book was written for, and it says, "To the children and children's ministry of my church." So, and there's some funny pictures there. They don't look like people, but they're kind of like people, all different people. So let's find out who they are. The Wemmicks were small wooden people. Oh, they are people. All of the wooden people were carved by a woodworker named Eli. His workshop sat on a hill overlooking their village. Each Wemmick was different. Some had big noses. Others had large eyes. Some were tall, and others were short. Some wore hats, and some wore coats. But all were made by the same carver, and all lived in the village. And all day, every day, the Wemmicks did the same thing. They gave each other stickers. Each Wemmick had a box of golden star stickers and a box of gray dot stickers. Up and down the streets, all over the city, people spent their days sticking stars and dots on each other. The pretty ones, those with smooth wood and fine paint, always got the stars. But if the wood was rough or the paint chipped, the Wemmick got a gray dot. The talented ones got stars too. Some could lift big sticks high above their heads or jump over tall boxes. Still others knew big words or could sing pretty songs. Everyone gave them stars. Some Wemmicks had stars all over them. Every time they got a star, it made them feel good. It made them want to do something else and get another star. Others, though, could do little. They got dots. Punchinello was one of these. He tried to jump high like the others, but he always fell. And when he fell, the others would gather around and give him dots. Sometimes when he fell, his wood got scratched, so people would give him more dots. Then when he would try to explain why he fell, he would say something silly and the Wemmicks would give him even more dots. After a while, he had so many dots that he didn't want to go outside. He was afraid he would do something dumb, such as forget his hat or step in the water, and then people would give him another dot. In fact, He had so many gray dots that some people would come up and give him one for no reason at all. He deserves lots of dots, the wooden people would agree with one another. He's not a good wooden person. After a while, Punchinello believed them. I'm not a good Wemmick, he would say. A few times he went outside. He hung around other Wemmicks who had lots of dots. He felt better around them. One day he met a Wemmick who was unlike any other he had ever met. She had no dots or stars. She was just wooden, and her name was Lucia. It wasn't that people didn't try to give her stickers. It's just that the stickers didn't stick. Some Wemmicks admired Lucia for having no dots, so they would try to give her a star, but it would fall off. Others would look down on her for having no stars, so they would give her a dot, but it wouldn't stay either. That's the way I want to be, thought Punchinello. I don't want anyone's marks. So he asked the stickerless Wemmick how she did it. It's easy, Lucia replied. Every day I go see Eli. Eli? Yes, Eli, the wood carver. I sit in the workshop with him. Why? Why don't you find out for yourself? Go up the hill. He's there. And with that, the Wemmicks who had no stickers turned and skipped away. She sounds a pretty happy girl. But will he want to see me? Punchinello cried out. Lucia didn't hear, so Punchinello went home. He sat near a window and he watched the wooden people as they scurried around, giving each other stars and dots. It's not right, he murmured to himself, and he decided to go see Eli. He walked up the narrow path to the top of the hill and stepped into the big shop. His wooden eyes widened at the size of everything. The stool was as tall as he was. He had to stretch on his tiptoes to see the top of the workbench. A hammer was as long as his arm. Punchinello swallowed hard. I'm not going to stay here, he murmured, I'm not going to stay here. And he turned to leave. Then he heard his name. Punchinello. The voice was deep and strong. Punchinello stopped. Punchinello, how good to see you. Come, let me have a look at you. Punchinello turned slowly, and he looked at the large, bearded craftsman. You know my name? The little Wemmick asked. Of course I do. I made you. Eli stooped down and picked him up, and he set him on the bench. The maker spoke thoughtfully as he looked at the gray dots. Looks like you've been given some bad marks. I didn't mean to, Eli. Really, I tried hard. Oh, you don't have to defend yourself to me, child. I don't care what the other Wemmicks think. You don't? No, and you shouldn't either. Who are they to give stars and dots? They're Wemmicks just like you. What they think doesn't matter, Punchinello. All that matters is what I think, and I think you're pretty special. Punchinello laughed. Me? Special? Why? My paint is peeling. Why do I matter to you? Eli looked at Punchinello, put his hands on the small wooden shoulders, and spoke very slowly. Because you're mine. That's why you matter to me. Punchinello had never had anyone look at him like that, much less his maker. He didn't know what to say. Every day I've been hoping you'd come, Eli explained. I came because I met someone who had no marks, said Punchinello. I know. She told me about you. Why don't the stickers stay on her? The maker spoke softly. Because she has decided that what I think is more important than what they think. The stickers only stick if you let them. What? The stickers only stick if they matter to you. The more you trust my love, the less you care about their stickers. I'm not sure I understand. Eli smiled. You will, but it will take some time. You've got a lot of marks. For now, just come see me every day and let me remind you of how much I care. Eli lifted Punchinello off the bench and set him on the ground. Remember, Eli said as the Wemmick walked out the door. You are special because I made you, and I don't make mistakes. Punchinello didn't stop, but in his heart he thought, I think he really means it. And when he did, a dot fell to the ground. The end. So, I really love that Punchinello goes because somebody who had no dots told him, just go see him and try. So we have different ways we go to Jesus to find out. And one of the most important ways are the stories about him that you'll read in your Bible that you're going to get soon. And you'll have the sheets to help you to know all the different things that you can do that will help them make sense to you. And different crafts and games that you can do as a family to help you learn more. And what's the nicest thing about reading stories, and I remember about my children, is that we always read stories before bedtime. And so that's why I brought a story to read to you today. Mom and Dad, to know you already know how to do faith formation for your children. And we're going to make sure that you, just like we do in Sundays, you have more than enough things than we could possibly get to. Don't feel like you have to get to everything. Even include your children in what's interesting to them, because if they're involved, they'll pay more attention and get more out of it because they helped you choose. And if you can't get to anything, just know that God loves you, that He made you, and He wants you to know how much He cares about you. So I want to thank you for letting me spend some time with you. And then I just want to share with you and pray for you all a very simple prayer that I learned when I was, like I said, I got down on my knees as a young mom, and I finally understood that I wasn't going to be perfect and I was going to make mistakes. And someone taught me to pray over my children at night when they went to sleep. And every night I would say, Father, I ask you to bridge the gap between the love my child needed and the love they were given today, and that you would heal anything that hurt their hearts and fill their hearts with love. So I pray for you today, that wherever you are and whatever happening, that God would bridge the gap between the love you needed today and the love you were given, and that He would heal your hearts of anything that hurts and fill you with His love. Amen. Thank you for being here, and I hope I get to see you soon. God bless you.